Okay, welcome everybody. I'm just going to just wait for numbers to stabilize. We might have had a little bit of a problem with the joining link, so we might get a few people arriving a little late. But what I'm going to do is, in the interest of time, and to give Tony an appropriate amount of time to thrill us with the information on his program and his work, I'll probably start the introduction around this talk and an update, provide a very brief update on the Transforming Foundation Industries Network Plus. So I'm Cameron Playdale-Pierce. I represent the metals sector and a co-investigator on the Network Plus for Transforming the Foundation Industries. I'd like to welcome you today to another of our Blue Skies Green Future webinar series, highlighting some of the important work going on, not just in the UK, but beyond, around the areas of key strategic importance for the foundation industries. In terms of the Network Plus itself, I mean, this is a slide that many of our network will be familiar with, but that's led by Ian, supported by Susan, William, myself, and Chris McDonald, who chairs up our independent advisory panel as chair of the Materials Processing Institute. And the people who really make the cogs turn and make this a success are, of course, Neil and Debbie. Where are we at the moment? So we're up to around 400 members across this network for the UK, which is really good, and I think we're starting to see some real advantages of being able to pull people together for that and develop new and exciting ideas for how we can support the industry. I've got a little box in front of me, but just to check I get that right, we've funded £500,000 worth of projects to date, with 12 projects and more flexible funding, which we'll be announcing for our third call in 2022. In terms of what we've been doing, what we're doing now and what we'll be doing in the future, we've run a series of workshops and these webinars as well, which don't necessarily appear on this slide individually. And we've been supporting a series of collaborative events as well, such as the digitalization workshop that we ran in collaboration with the KTN. In terms of things that are going to be coming up in the new year, we have a workshop focused around advanced processing technologies and digitalization, which will be in February time. And then further ahead, then we'll be running a joint event on resource efficiency, with a resource efficiency focus in collaboration with the Transfire TFI Hub as well, which is some things to look forward to. Shameless plug, in the immediate future, next week, it's the Sustain Biannual Conference, which is an online conference free to attend. And I'll be pasting that link, which appears in this slide, in there later on. So anybody who's interested in the sort of the latest developments around steel process research and decarbonisation research, and they can come along to that. And of course, you can contact us for any updates on the latest things that are going on across the network and follow what we're doing via these sources. So welcome then to our Blue Skies Green Future talk. We've had talks so far on energy efficiency, just reading a list here: energy efficiency, sustainable alloy design, supply chain transformation, and new technologies for cement production and concrete production. And what's the key thing that links all of those? It's that they all have a technology focus. And today we're going to have something a little bit different, because if we develop all of these fantastic technologies, who is going to be deploying them, these technologies and approaches? What skills will they need? And if we're going to support a just transition for the foundation industries across the UK, then that's something that's really important for us to tackle. So with that in mind, today I'd like to introduce you to Antonius Schroeder from the Technical University of Dortmund. On paper, Tony is a member of the management board for the Social Research Centre at Dortmund. He contributes to chairs and key committees in working groups like the European Steel Technology Platform, the German Professional Association of Sociologists, and the director of European School of Social Innovation. But I know Tony as a really enthusiastic and passionate advocate for skills. and particularly in the area of the foundation industry. And he really is a leader in terms of trying to define what the skills requirements are going to be. You're muted, please. A real passionate believer in developing the platforms that are necessary to look at and the requirements that are necessary for future skills requirements. So with that in mind, he runs a couple of really important projects with it from the European perspective in that area. One that I'm particularly familiar with and integrated with is the European Steel Skills Agenda, ESSA program. And the other one is the one that Tony's going to be talking to you about today around the Skills Alliance for Industrial Symbiosis. So I've seen the ESSA program, the steel focus program, flourish within the UK as we're sort of looking to roll out some of the implementation of the roadmaps and skills requirements that Tony and his wider team have identified across Europe, and looked at generating training resources. So I know that this work can be impactful and have tangible benefit on business. And so with that, I'm really looking forward to what Tony has to say to us today about the other program, which focuses much more broadly on industrial symbiosis across all of the foundation industries beyond steel. Thank you, Tony, for allowing us to gain insight into your programs today. And I'll just pass over the screen share to you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Cameron, for your kind words. As you said, I feel a bit mission-driven at the end of my career, in a way, pushing the skills perspective much more and combining it with the technological development. So I don't see it as an opposite or something else. I'm very much in favor of combining technological development. Combining technological development with the experience and skills of the workers, and to move forward together. I will tell you something about what Cameron said about the SPIRE-SAIS project. Let me just share my screen and get into presenters mode. So I hope now you could see it.
We can see that fine, Tony. And as we go through the talk, if anybody has any questions, please don't hesitate to drop them in the chat, and I can pick them up at the end.
Okay, fine. And you will support me then with the questions and answer part. Yes, thanks a lot. Yes, let me just directly step in. What could you expect from me today? I will show you a European way of open and common coordination of sector-related skills adjustment. And in this case, cross-sectoral across 10 energy-intensive process industries. So how do we do it? But before I move to our solution to be set, I will get let's say a little bit draw your attention to the point that we are not only having a digital and green transition, but also a social transition. So the starting point, I always start with the statement that a lot of technological innovation is not being used and implemented, not because it's not relevant technology, but it's not, let's say, practical grounded. So for me, or for us, we say every technological or economical innovation is also a social innovation process, at least co-determining efficiency and effectiveness, success and failure. And already in 2010, the OECD said very clearly that technology should be seen as an enabler of innovation. And this was underlined also by Klaus Schwab, the founder of the World Economic Forum, in his book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, stressing that every technological innovation is made by people and for people. So our solution or our orientation is to combine technological innovation with a social innovation process, including stakeholder and user in a co-creation process and considering impact, organizational and personal development right from the beginning. So let me just draw your attention to the aspects, not to focus only on technological innovation, but also have the societal or social innovation in your mind. So there are also society readiness levels and not only technological technology readiness levels to be oriented at. And my experience is that the societal readiness levels are mostly very lower than the technological readiness levels. So what I said already is we need interconnected processes of social and technological innovation by integrating not only the business sectors, but also policy, government, the academic sector, but also education and training, and not to forget civil society, especially in industrial symbiosis. Civil society in a region is needed, and they have very often very clever ideas to push industrial symbiosis. I would like to draw your attention to the discussion of Industry 5.0 launched by DG Research and Innovation from the European Commission, which is complementing Industry 4.0 with a new focus on human-centric. So using technology primarily for the benefit of people, sustainable, not harming the environment, and resilient to be contributing to the security of supply and autonomous supply chain. So this, based on this, we have to change our, what we call in the social innovation paradigm, social practices. So considering impact of technologies on jobs, business, welfare, integrating social and green in technological innovation, close involvement of workers, new role of workers, emphasizing their experience, new machine collaboration and work division, and simultaneously developing technology and training. We had some project where this was became evident that this is, let's say, a win-win situation of the operators, users, and the software developers, for instance. And please also have a proactive skills adjustment. That's also very important, and not wait until the technology is there and then adjust the skills. So that's very shortly, that leads to let's say, interrelation of technology, organization, human, and work, as you see it here in the picture. So I don't want to get too much in it, but the interfaces, for instance, between human and technology are relevant points or relevant interfaces to be managed. Also between human and organization and technology. So if you change one of these triangle points, then there is a direct impact to the both others. And that's also the background of the sectoral alliances and strategies. But a last, let's say, slide concerning programmatic orientation is that the main challenge is the broad range of relevant technologies. In the ESA project, almost every Industry 4.0 technology is used and improved, and this concerns almost all job profiles and also the different production areas, including maintenance. So what kind of skills adjustment strategy could we take? And I will give you an answer, hopefully, in my next slides. So transformative potential and power, systemic change, a holistic perspective have to lead to new social practices, which is based on new infrastructures, but also cultures, behaviors, mindsets, routines. For instance, every individual is more and more responsible for his to move forward with support, for sure, of society to move forward in lifelong learning. And this has to be supported, as I said, by new alliances, new constellations, but also maybe new task and responsibility in a reciprocal interplay. And therefore, the new skills agenda of the European Commission has launched the blueprints for sectoral cooperation on skills, delivering sector-specific skill solutions, because they say there is not one size fits all, but you have to activate and focus on the related sector. And the blueprint is a new framework for this kind of strategic cooperation between key stakeholders in the industry sector. So this is a list of the sectoral blueprints already funded by the European Commission. You see there are over 20. And I'm engaged, I'm coordinating the steel industry and also industrial symbiosis of energy intensive industries, where the steel sector is also part of. But it has another focus because it's the only cross-sectoral industry sector overarching blueprint. So it's based on the Erasmus Plus program. We have 4 years time. We got 400 million euro funding. We now are 24 partners plus 13 associated partners. And as I said, we are not alone. There are different other sectors to be funded. The key components of SPIRE-SAIS is to build on existing coordination of SPIRE. That's the sustainable process industry cooperation, a public-private partnership. And as I said, it's a cross-sectoral approach covering all the 8, but now 2 sectors became new partners. Now we have 10 partners, 10 sectors enclosed in the activities, where the sector associations on the European and national level play a very important role. So we are focusing on ceramics, cement, chemicals, engineering, minerals, non-ferrous metals, steel, water, pulp and paper, and refinery. What are our main objectives? We want to proactive adjust the skills. We are looking for new training and curricular requirements, mainly from the perspective of the industry, namely a short implementation within the companies and the education and training organizations. We mobilize and integrate policymakers and try to get political support on the European, national, but also on the regional level, what Cameron mentioned. We look for successful sectoral upskilling schemes and we don't. We also have in mind recruitment and retention and more attractiveness of the process industry, because this is one of the main challenges to change the narrative of heavy industries being dangerous, dirty, and outdated. So, and also key performance indicators we are looking for to monitor our activities. And our mission, as I always say, is we want to have an industry-driven proactive adjustment across the different SPIRE sectors. So this is just a view about where our partners are located. So we try to cover most of Europe, but mainly the countries with heavy or energy-intensive industries. And how do we do it? That's the next point. It's just to come back to it. This is very important. It's an industry-driven consortium, and this is not a research project, let's say, coming to some scientifically good results, which then have to be disseminated, implemented, etc. We are in our project, different industries associations are cooperating, so industry sector associations, companies, training providers, research institutions, regional institutions, but also European institutions and others. So based on this background, our approach is to have a look at the technological and economic development and foresight, to look for company skills requirements, to anticipate future requirements concerning the VET system. So, but mainly from a perspective of the industry. How could the VET system contribute? Which could training and education measures could be taken over by the VET systems? And what kind of measures are already existing? Let me say personally, this is the main challenging part, because we are focusing now on 5 different representative different VET systems, but as you know, every VET system is in Europe is different. So that's a big challenge, but we try to find an interrelation between the company requirements and the VET systems. So all this information about of these 3 main blocks are feeding into the cross-sectoral European blueprint, which is a target, a practical target group friendly orientation and information framework, which will be transferred and implemented, and policy recommendation and dissemination will take part as well. And we try to combine it as much as possible, our blueprint, with existing European tools like Skills Panorama, but also the European Skills, Competence and Occupation Database. So this is a blueprint framework. It's easy to overview it. So we are based on technological and economic demands and skills requirements, also in a foresight perspective. We look at skills adjustment because and we did this mainly from the industry perspective, skills and job profile classification, and looking for VET support. Then these information will lead to strategies and measures. So we will have a look at kind of foresight, observatory training, offers and learning arrangements, but also image recruiting, etc., as what I told. And we're looking for alliances and leadership on the European level within the SPIRE community and the Processes for Planet program. But there will also be from the next year on a project focusing on a European community of practice for industrial urban symbiosis, where we look to work with them very closely and integrate the skills perspective visually in their activities, and also national regional rollout and roadmaps. We will, let's say, trigger, but we cannot do much more with the implementation and rollout in the last phase on the national level to start such a process and help to get funding, let's say, for an adjustment or implementation of the blueprint framework into their national activities. And as we said, we will focus on the hubs for circularity in the regions, and with European open coordination, we will try to push this as well. Let me just refer to some results. First, from the first part, the technological and economic demands and skills requirements analysis, desktop and survey we made with companies. So this is showing that the current level of implementation and technological implementation and skills is higher for energy efficiency rather than for industrial symbiosis. You can download our first version of the deliverable from our homepage with these results, by the way. Interesting was for me that public actors are also main actors of industrial symbiosis and energy efficiency. So the companies are already very much integrated also there. Main barriers: costs of investment, regulatory issues, outdated plans, infrastructure and equipment, cooperation challenges, integration of regional stakeholders, and working across different sectors, and skills gaps. There are no specific training programs. The current training up to now is primarily non-formal and unstructured. The level of skills focused on is low and middle, and their specific job-related technical professional skills are in place, but also transversal skills and management skills. And concerning industrial symbiosis, there are some not to be neglected number of respondents said that IS is leading to new jobs and professions. I won't go through the figures here in detail. It's just underlying what I just said. And for instance, you see here on the level of skills that there is a higher level needed in industrial symbiosis than in energy efficiency. Okay, yes, areas of application. Maybe I should add this a bit more. So it's a focus on production process chain but also the energy, environmental, sustainable departments are part of industrial symbiosis and energy efficiency if they exist. Let's say like this. Maintenance is not so much in focus up to now by from the companies. And means to acquire more skills, I already said it, non-formal trainings, learning at work, implementing daily tasks, that's in focus. But there are also already some vocational education and training, formal vocational education and training for energy efficiency, not for industrial symbiosis. That's very important information from the people of this of the VET system work package, saying that this is a great challenge. Okay, then what did we do to get the information about skills adjustment from the company? So we checked sectorial organigrams. We looked for similar sectorial job profiles. We tried to classify the skills and to describe the relevant job profiles and the current, future, and skills evaluation and gaps definitions leading into a job profiles database. So some results here. This is, for instance, an example of the steel industry. So we looked at the profile groups at the top level one, where production and functional areas are listed, and all these areas are affected by energy efficiency and industrial symbiosis. That's underlying my first introduction, that a range of new technologies are infecting a range of different production areas and job profiles. Then we looked, for instance, more concretely to the melting shop and identified which job profiles are related to energy efficiency, which are related to industrial symbiosis, and which are related to both. And you see that you find a lot of affected job profiles we have to take into account on the, let's say, the management level, but also at the operator level. Here we have the job profile functions and profile. Sorry, because this is an example of the production areas, and now we have an example of the functional areas from quality, safety, logistic, purchase, etc. And you see here that there are also the management level and the operator level are of relevance. Okay, now this picture might a bit, let's say, complicated, but I hope I can explain it a bit. So, saying that what I showed before, we looked at the cross-sectoral generic job profile. So we had organigrams and chart flows by 5 or 6 of the related sectors, and they all focus on a production area and on functional areas. So, and they all, maybe I could show you. Okay, maybe I could show you here with this. I don't know if you see my mouse. So we have the production area and we have the management level and the operational level. So beside the production area, a lot of functional areas are listed in the sectors, from materials, energy, waste, purchase, logistic, etc. all connected with industrial symbiosis and energy efficiency inside and outside on the company for cooperation. The same is on the operational level. So every management part has an operational part, and there we listed also the main job profiles, functions of the companies. And then we looked at the relevant skills, and we could say, okay, there are management skills, business and regulatory oriented, and we have operator, vet skills, professional, technical, but also transversal, individual. And in this case, also differentiated between industrial symbiosis and energy efficiency, which is on the management level, and the regulatory skills level, the business level, not so important. And not to forget, we have a function outside or across companies, looking, let's say, differently, looking very much outside the own company and having a cross-sectoral perspective. And this is what we call the industrial symbiosis facilitator, but there is a specific project on it. So, and they are just testing their training program for the IS facilitator. We will integrate this in our blueprint, but we are not working on this job profile in depth in our blueprint. Oh, that's not the right. Let me just try to move on. I don't know what my computer makes with me. Just a minute. So let us just have a closer look on the skills level. As I said, it's a bit T-shaped, focusing on technological and transversal skills, but in this case we focus much more on the technological perspective. Skills for or technical perspective, for skills for industrial symbiosis and energy efficiency listed here, energy management of equipment and parts, system optimization, process analysis, etc. But also individual and personal skills, so environmental awareness, collaboration, teamwork, initiative taking, entrepreneurship thinking, complementary, systematic, critical thinking, and creativity was listed here. On the regulatory perspective, general awareness of legislation, compliance, but also concerning waste management and especially CO2 emissions. Business related, you find business knowledge, but also the identification of potential opportunities, fostering cooperation, business model transformation, project planning, and management. So that's a place, that's the state of our recent development. Let me just, yeah, I have a few minutes. Let me just tell you something about the ESSA project Cameron already mentioned. This is also a blueprint, sectoral blueprint, but only focusing in apostrophes on the steel industry. I would like to show you that there we have a more transversal and specific skills as T-shaped skills approach. So on a technical part, if you look here, we have equipment repair, craft and technicians skills, etc. but also we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 transversal skills. We included there digital and green skills, specific ones, but also social, individual, and methodological skills. And you see here on the left side in the corner that we checked the level of proficiency from 0 novice to 4 master. And we made a survey in the steel industry, asking the people to assess the skills in their company only for the job profiles they know very, very good. But let's have just a look at the green skills. So you see energy efficiency, awareness, waste reduction, recycling, water conservation. These skills CR are of current relevance. You see here the expert and the master level, and you see there is an increasing, we left the 3 others out, but you see that there is an increasing effort necessary to improve the skills to a higher level in all the given green skills categories. We had 9 job profiles where we had, let's say, lower skilled factory hands, but also process engineers and metallurgical managers. And looking at the future relevance of green skills for these job profiles, you see that the blue one is the recent status. You see that there is an increase not only for specific job profiles, but for all functions and all job profiles concerning green skills. Okay, so far, I come now to the end. Where we are, what we are doing, we are now having a first, at the end of the year, a first blueprint prototype in SPIRE-SAIS, and we will focus much more than on alliances implementation and rollout in the next year. That will be the testing phase of the prototype. Yes, what are the expected results and for our industry-driven skills strategy? So, as I said, we want to adjust the workforce proactive. For instance, there is now also a discussion of integrating hydrogen in the production process and the related new skills for it. We want to support the optimization of the production process by skills. We will monitor the development and try to find shortener or more shortened implementation of industry relevant qualifications in the national vet systems. And we want to focus on exchanging modules, tools, and experiences, and also developing a blueprint that could be discussed and compared with the solutions of other sectors. Last point, we do this, as I always say, in a social innovation process. So we start with the challenge, the in-time adjustment of skills. The idea is to have a cross-sectoral blueprint. And now we are involving all the stakeholders from companies, sector associations, social partners, training providers, education and research in the intervention to find new ways of adjusting skills. Then we focus on the implementation. I already said about something about this, but nevertheless, or very relevant from the beginning on, we look at the sustainable running of this blueprint and an institutionalization and having impact. It might be relevant, and that's my experience, that is always the case, to adjust our intervention because of the first feedback of the testing phase, so that we might adjust things a bit. And also from the implementation, we will know that some institutionalized activities might not so successful. Then we have to go back again concerning the intervention and the implementation. So it's a process. It's not a one-way process. I forgot to add some feedback loop here. I will update this later, and so that we have a common development process in a way that we are open for improvement and adjustment. So thank you very much, and you have here my contact data, and you can also have a look at SPIRE2030.eu SAIS to get recent and actual information you need. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope I was not too long, and I'm ready for questions and answers.
Thank you very much, Tony. That was really interesting and a really useful counterpoint to some of the talks and discussions that we've had within the context of the Network Plus so far. It's nice to have such a strong focus on skills. Happy to do my job as chair and ask the first question, but before I do, are there any questions from the floor?
Hello, can I?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So, first of all, I understand from this presentation is that the project mainly focuses on the assessment and technology development of skills in the industries, right? So I would like to know about whether this project is is going to analyze any waste heat recovery system to improve the energy, energy efficient of the particular industries. Yeah,
Tony, I'm not sure if you grasped that, but I think the question was centered around whether or not your project is going to be looking at requirements for waste heat recovery. I'm not sure if is that in the context of skills though, or is that a technical question?
Yeah, as I said before, for sure, we have to look at this more in depth when we are, let's say, dive into the regional rollouts in the hubs for circularity. And then this is an important part, but our focus is not to improve technology, but to look for a way to support this by new skills and also by training programs. But it's as far as I know, in such industrial symbiosis and circularity hubs on the regional level, this is very much like every social innovation process, very much focusing on combining or finding a way of a governance structure, managing the cooperation, and also to push the technological development, and our part will be to combine it very much with the skills perspective. If possible, we directly want to integrate the the stakeholders or the related persons in the company in a common development process.
Thank you, Tony. There's another question here in the chat from Ben Walsh, who is representative of the Transforming Foundation Industries group within Innovate UK, which is for Tony's benefit, is one of the funding bodies that supports higher TRL research within the UK, Tony. So Ben, I don't know if you want to put forward your question yourself, or I have to read it out, one or the other.
I'm currently looking after COVID kids, so feel free to
okay, sure, no problem. Yeah. So Ben would like to know whether you've looked at skills that are focused on supporting innovation. So the skills required for innovation, as opposed to applied to any one particular of the challenges or the skills areas that you've highlighted in your work.
Yes, not so easy to answer. For sure we do, but we are focused much more on the vocational and education and training system perspective, and not at the, let's say, the university level, the higher education. But I know from other projects that it is very important to integrate the workplace experiences in the development of technological solutions for not only for the sake of improving the acceptance, but it's very relevant also for improving the implementation and the user friendliness of the technology, and not at least doing this, you can unfold the potential of new innovations within the workplace and within the company on a higher level, let's say it like this, as this is done before, because it's not only done by implementing a technology and then everything will work. You have to implement it in the production process, in other processes, etc. And this should be done by how could I call it, by bottom-up innovation as well as let's say the top-down innovation. It's not an easy, I know it's not an easy answer to this question, but we have experiences in combining the technological development with the experiences and the training and education of the end users, and this, as I said, is of benefit for all the operators, the users, the software developers, and the management of a company.
Yeah, so you mentioned there about a thumbs up there from Ben and his COVID kids. So I think there's an acknowledgement there of the fact that the culture is as important as the skills vehicles that we would need, or the skills that we need to engender in people. And I noticed that you highlighted creativity as a particularly important area for industrial symbiosis in particular. So that's interesting. Another question from Jonathan here, who's from another funding council within the UK, Science and Technology Facilities Research Council, who is asked the question. Jonathan, it's quite long. Do you want to summarize it yourself, or do you want me to just read it out?
Yeah, well, I was trying to generalize. So we run various skills initiatives like for big data and AI, and trying to get those get wider acknowledgement of the capabilities, the possibilities offered by them. We do have a remit to customize these things somewhat for different sectors, and what I just wondered if there were lessons learnt so far that we could be bringing towards making our training, and indeed anyone else that's out there offering training offers in specific areas, either with particular technologies. I mean, heat recovery came up, it's probably a similar question. What do you need to do to get your training fit for purpose for the organizations that we're all trying to address in this community?
Yes, that's a very important question, especially let's say for small and medium-sized enterprises to use tailor-made training. What we have in mind is to set up an online training platform, which is let's say dedicated very much to the job profiles and skills we identified on the demand side. And we will thinking about developing different modules that could also be integrated in the company training system very easily by a learning management system most of the companies do have. But in this case, in ESSA, we have a so-called Steel Hub, where we are working very much on this detailed structure of tailor-made programs, so that you could, let's say, select for a specific job profile and a specific demand the relevant training. Hopefully, we are working on it. But that's the real challenge, and the other challenge is to have it to have an online combined with on-the-job training tools, because our experience is that training on the job is also very, very important. And if we find a way, but we are working on it, we are halfway. We are working on it to combine on the job and online training. Then I think it's going in the direction you ask for.
I think if I was to add two things to that, it would be that if you look at Tony's sort of penultimate slide or last slide, what I took away from that personally was learn by doing. So you know, we have a very good and thorough sort of description of what the requirements are, but we just have to try to implement in what we feel is the best way possible, and then iterate on that until it's successful. Taking Tony's example of ESSA, I can speak from personal experience because Sustain is helping to try and coordinate activity between local training providers, some of the trade unions and the steel companies themselves, in terms of what the mix would look like in terms of direct delivery to people on the job training, and the more the less linear online courses that we might be able to take that people could use that would complement that as well. And I think one of the things that I want to do for the Network Plus is to provide more visibility of that and the work that Tony is doing around that, and then follow that through to the wider agenda across all of the foundation industries as SPIRE-SAIS matures as well, so that our community has a bit more visibility of how those things are going and what we're learning from those.
So just to make it clear, we are not, let's say, a better training provider, but what we want to do is to run continuously a framework to optimize training from the perspective of the industry, and to let's say to have some orientation and development strands that are let's say a little bit more efficient than the education system taking that takes too much time. And also it's from the industry for the industry, and we hope to develop these things then more in a better way together.
Thank you, Tony. And on that bombshell, I think we're out of time. And so a really useful and productive note to end on. We in the Network Plus, we really like to follow this up, so we'll try to provide increasing visibility of the work that Tony and his team are doing across these two programs that he's highlighted today, and hopefully all of our partners, both in the academic, the provision, training provision side, and in the from the industrial side, the user base will benefit from that. So thank you once again to Tony, and a virtual round of applause from me for your fantastic presentation. We'll be back in touch with the community more broadly later on our activities coming up in February and May, as I highlighted earlier on. Thank you very much, Tony. And with that, I'd just like to draw this Blue Skies, Green Future webinar to a close. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Always. Bye-bye.